So, good morning. I'm actually here to talk about three things that I had to rethink. And it's from my mind, but also it's close to my heart. So, I lived in northern Cyprus till I was 16. And I was always with people who were very similar to me. So you will see my three pictures from primary school, secondary school, and high school. And in 1995, I went to the UK for my university education. And just like that, from a classroom where I was always with Turkish and Turkish Cypriot people, I moved to a classroom like this one, where I was the only one from Europe. And I remember the first day I was at school. I opened the door, and I went in there, and it was the first time I saw a black person in real life. And it was, in that classroom, it was the first time I saw someone from Asia. And I remember the first lesson, I couldn't stop staring at her. Her name is Omotayo Teidi, as you can see her. And I was like, oh my God, look at her. She's so different. Look at her skin, and inside her hands, and her teeth, and her hair. I was very curious. And in that school, my first year, it was also the first time I have met a Greek Cypriot. In 1995, I was 16. And my curiosity was a little bit replaced with confusion, because I didn't know how to think, and what to feel, and most importantly, how to act. Because I had all these ideas about what I should be feeling, and I had these feelings about Greek Cypriots. And I know I wasn't the only one, because in that week I met a guy, and once I told him I was Turkish Cypriot, he looked at me. He was shocked. He stopped. He spat on the floor, he turned his back, and he left. But it was a small school for my first year, so we got to talk. And then later on, I asked him about this incident, and he was like, look, Idil, I was just out of the army. It was my, very, very soon he was out of the army. It was his first time also. And he was like, I wasn't prepared to meet with the enemy like this. And definitely didn't expect the enemy to look like you. So I can understand. And I'm lucky because I was 16, and this was in 1995. I know some of my friends had to go through this experience in 2004 when we opened the borders, and it was their first time seeing a Greek Cypriot, or some Greek Cypriots' first time seeing a Turkish Cypriot. And unfortunately, even though we have passed 9 more years, we don't have that much crossings, and we don't have that much interaction. And more than the crossings and the interactions is, I think, opportunity to be together, to work together, to collaborate. I had that opportunity. So I had 6 years in the UK, and in these 6 years, I have met the other, whatever the other was. And I had the opportunity to do coursework, to homework, to study for exams, to do projects together, presentations, associations, trips. And I've realized it's through this that I have learned more about myself and more about the other being the nationality, ethnical background, whatever your other is. And this is where I got my most precious learning. This is where I had to rethink and look at my beliefs and my thoughts about the other. And I think my biggest gain from this was I learned to embrace the richness of diversity. So my question is, what was the last time you had an opportunity to talk to the other? The other being maybe someone from a different religion, maybe a Muslim, maybe someone from an ethnical background, someone maybe from a different nationality, maybe the enemy, or someone from a different community, maybe someone from LGBT. We don't have those opportunities. And please, if you get that opportunity, make the most of it, because you will see that that's where our growth comes in. When I graduated university, I knew what I wanted to become. I wanted to be a management consultant. Well, I had a degree in management studies. My master was in corporate strategy and corporate governance. I was quite clear I wanted to be a management consultant. And I wanted to be an international management consultant because this was my 6 years with people from all over the world. And this, once you get the taste of the richness of this diversity, you don't want to give up. And that was my dream, to become an international consultant. And 9/11 happened. So I had to come back to Cyprus. Well, being very specific, I had to come back to Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, as we Turkish Cypriots call it, and occupied territories, as Greek Cypriots call it. And I'm not going to go and say what Europeans call it and what Americans call it and whatsoever. I'll be politically correct and I'll call it Northern Cyprus. This was before the borders opened. And when you come back and you have your dream about being in the city of London, being your dream job, and you're here, it doesn't feel like you're at the land of opportunities. And my feelings were shared with my friends who went back to their countries, well, their recognized countries, maybe, or friends who stayed in the UK but had to deal with the 9/11 consequences, which is similar to the situations we're having at the moment, I think. Sometimes you feel like, what kind of place am I in? Nothing happens here. Nothing ever changes. And you can start to feel bitter about the situation that you're in. And then you can start complaining. You can complain about the politicians, you can complain about the system, or lack of the system, or you can complain about corruption, and the list goes on. And then what you can do is you can settle. You can settle for a job that pays you well, that gives you security, and a good retirement package. And I think we do that sometimes. It can be done, and sometimes we forget about our dreams. Sometimes they are too impossible. It feels like impossible. But when I was here in Cyprus, I was very lucky because I had 2 criteria for jobs. Not the payment package and the retirement. It was about, what can I do that will help me to grow as a person? And how can I contribute to my society? And all the jobs I have done, I tried to work on these 2 criteria. And I was very lucky. One of my favorite jobs or work was to work with Nadia Karayanni, who's also sitting at the audience here, who's a Greek Cypriot. And we have worked together, and also with Akis, who's also sitting here. And all of us, we worked together as a team, and we were building capacity in Cyprus of the civil society organizations island-wide. And through that experience, I have seen people who felt maybe that they were in a place where things were not happening, things were not changing. And they took action and they took steps to change this. We have worked with people who have inspired me. They were working on women issues, they worked on children issues, they worked on democracy, they worked on disabled. And they were all able to create positive change in this island. Like what Marina is doing with TEDx, trying to create positive change. And that really inspired me. And I have continued working on my dream. And when I was 30, I started working for this firm, which works on leadership, which is what I am passionate about. And on top of the civil society organizations that I'm working with, I also work with Fortune 100. So Fortune 100 is the largest companies of the world. And I go around traveling the world. Actually, I've traveled, well, within the 4 years, around 28 plus countries. And when I'm traveling, I'm working with leaders and managers. I'm trying to help them to create better results, faster results, through empowering their people. So I can say that I have achieved my dream of becoming an international consultant in Cyprus, being in Cyprus. And one learning I have from this is that to dare to dream and to act on them, to act on your dreams. So when I looked at my 10 years of experience of working with or being exposed to MPs, ministers, prime ministers, working with private sector organizations, leaders of civil society organizations, or leaders of movements, or managing directors of countries, regions, even CEOs. I have seen some inspiring people who are successful at what they do. And I think that's one thing we really focus on. We look at what we do. I mean, even when we're a kid, people ask us what we do. And one of the things I realized is we look at this, what we want to become, and we are successful, and we become what we want to become, and we become all these titles that we want to achieve. But sometimes that has a cost. And sometimes that cost is a relationship with our spouse, and sometimes it's with our family or with our children, or sometimes it's our health. So something has happened to me 2 years ago, and this was, my father was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and I was in intensive care with my family for 2.5 months. And this was a time I realized that maybe we need to think, we need to stop and think, because there are really things in life that is very important. And maybe that's not about what we become, but it's about who we are with, and our family and our friends. And this is one thing I realized, that maybe I need to think more about my priorities and more about balance in my life. It's the truth that I have put on a lot of energy and effort in achieving what I wanted to become, an international consultant. And sometimes I see that, maybe at my age, or at my, we put a lot of emphasis on the what. And society helps us to do that. I mean, when you have kids, you ask them, what do you want to become when you grow up? They ask us what we want to become. But maybe it's not about the what. Maybe it's about the who. Because we have many roles. So I am going to be a mother, so I'm going to play the role of a mother. I'm playing the role of a sister, of a wife, of a daughter. I am a professional who enjoys what she does, and I would love to advance in my career. And also I want to contribute to the society and create positive change in this island. So all of this, I think the question we should be asking ourselves is, who do we want to be? So my question to you that I want to leave you with is, who do you want to be? And what are you doing about that? Thank you.